Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Anderson, and I'm about to tell you the most unbelievable story of betrayal, manipulation, and ultimate karma that you've ever heard. This is my story, and I promise you, it's going to blow your mind. 5 years ago, I thought I had it all figured out. I was 32 years old, living in a beautiful suburban home in Connecticut with my husband Mark and our 2 kids, Emma who was 7, and little Jake who was 4. Mark was a successful architect. I ran a small but thriving interior design business from home, and we were happy. Or at least, I thought we were. My sister Vanessa was always the wild child in our family. 2 years younger than me, she never quite settled down. She'd jump from job to job, relationship to relationship, always chasing the next thrill. Don't get me wrong, I loved my sister. We grew up close, sharing everything from clothes to secrets. But somewhere along the way, as we got older, I noticed something shift in her eyes whenever she looked at my life. It started small. Little comments here and there. Must be nice to have such a stable life, Sarah. Mark is so handy around the house, isn't he? I wish I could find a man like your husband. At first, I thought she was just being complimentary, maybe even a little envious in a harmless sisterly way. I had no idea what was brewing beneath the surface. Vanessa had been living in New York City, working as a bartender and trying to make it as an actress. When she called me one rainy Tuesday in October, crying about how her roommate had kicked her out and she had nowhere to go, I didn't hesitate. That's what sisters do, right? We help each other. Can I stay with you guys for just a few weeks? She sobbed into the phone. Just until I get back on my feet, Sarah. Please. Mark was hesitant. I remember that now. He stood in our kitchen, arms crossed, shaking his head slightly. Sarah, remember what happened last time she stayed with us? That was supposed to be 2 weeks and it turned into 3 months. She's my sister, Mark, I said, already making up the guest room in my mind. She's going through a rough patch. We have the space. He sighed and pulled me into a hug. Your heart is too big for your own good sometimes, you know that? If only I had listened to that warning in his voice. If only I had paid attention to that moment of hesitation. Vanessa arrived the next day with 3 suitcases and a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She hugged me tight at the door, and over her shoulder, I saw her gaze sweep across our foyer, our living room, landing on the family photos on the wall. Something flickered across her face. Something I couldn't quite name. Thank you so much, sis, she whispered. You're saving my life. Little did I know, she was about to destroy mine. The first week was fine. Great, even. Vanessa helped with the kids, cooked dinner a few times, and seemed genuinely grateful to have a roof over her head. She'd play with Emma and Jake in the backyard, and their laughter would drift through the windows while I worked on design projects in my home office. But then I started noticing things. Small things at first. Vanessa would always seem to be in the kitchen when Mark came home from work, offering him a beer with that bright smile of hers. She started dressing differently around the house, trading her usual comfortable clothes for tighter jeans, low-cut tops. She'd wear makeup every day, even though she was just hanging around the house. Are you going somewhere? I asked her one morning, noticing she'd curled her hair and put on perfume. What? No, I just want to feel good about myself, she laughed. Is that a crime? I brushed it off. I brushed off a lot of things. Like how she'd touch Mark's arm when she talked to him. How she'd laugh just a little too loud at his jokes. How she volunteered to bring him lunch at his office downtown when I mentioned I was too busy with a client meeting. That's so sweet of you to think of your brother-in-law, I said, genuinely touched. Mark seemed uncomfortable with the attention at first. He'd pull away slightly when she got too close, or excuse himself to go upstairs. But gradually, over the weeks, I noticed his discomfort fading. He started smiling at her jokes. Started having longer conversations with her over morning coffee. One night, about a month after Vanessa moved in, I woke up around 2 a.m. to use the bathroom. The house was dark and quiet. But as I walked past the guest room, I heard something that made me freeze. Whispering. And it was coming from downstairs. I crept to the top of the stairs and peered down. In the dim glow of the kitchen light, I could see Mark and Vanessa sitting at the kitchen island, their heads close together. Too close. They were talking in low voices, and Vanessa's hand was on his arm. My heart started pounding. What were they doing up so late? Why were they being so secretive? I should have marched down there right then. I should have demanded to know what was going on. But instead, I convinced myself I was being paranoid. Mark loved me. Vanessa was my sister. They were probably just talking about something innocent, maybe about helping Vanessa find a job or an apartment. I went back to bed, but I couldn't sleep. The next morning, I casually asked Mark about it. "Were you up late last night? I thought I heard voices." He barely looked up from his coffee. "Oh yeah, Vanessa couldn't sleep. She wanted to talk about some job opportunity. It was nothing. Nothing." That word would haunt me. Over the next few weeks, the nothings piled up. Text messages on Mark's phone that he'd quickly swipe away when I came into the room. Vanessa suddenly having lots of errands to run, always seeming to leave the house right after Mark did. Coming home at the same time too. My best friend Michelle noticed it before I fully admitted it to myself. "Sarah, I don't want to overstep," she said one day when she came over for coffee and Vanessa conveniently disappeared upstairs. "But have you noticed how your sister acts around Mark? I don't know, it feels off." "You think I'm crazy?" I asked, voicing the fear that had been growing in my gut. "I think you need to trust your instincts," Michelle said carefully. "And your instincts are usually spot on." That night, I decided to do something I never thought I'd do. I decided to check Mark's phone. It was a Saturday morning. Mark had gone for a run, and Vanessa was supposedly at a job interview. The kids were having a playdate at Michelle's house. I was alone. Mark's phone was charging on his nightstand. My hands shook as I picked it up. The passcode, I knew it. It was our anniversary date. But when I typed it in, the phone buzzed with an error. Wrong passcode. He'd changed it. My stomach dropped. In 10 years of marriage, Mark had never changed his passcode without telling me. We had an open phone policy, or at least I thought we did. I tried a few other combinations. Nothing. Then I remembered he kept his old iPad in his home office, the one that was synced to his iCloud. If there were messages, they'd be there too. The iPad opened easily, still using our old shared passcode. And there they were. Hundreds of text messages between Mark and Vanessa. My sister. My husband. The earliest messages were innocent enough. "Thanks for the advice about my resume." "You're welcome, happy to help." But they quickly evolved into something that made my blood run cold. "Vanessa, I can't stop thinking about our conversation last night. You really understand me in a way Sarah never has." "Mark, we probably shouldn't be talking like this." "Vanessa, why not? We're both adults. And I know you feel it too. This connection between us." "Mark, it's complicated." "Vanessa, it doesn't have to be. Sarah's always so busy with her work and the kids. When's the last time she really saw you, Mark? When's the last time she made you feel special?" I wanted to throw up. I wanted to scream. But I kept reading, like watching a car crash in slow motion. The messages got more intimate. Vanessa started sending photos, selfies at first, then more suggestive ones. Mark's responses became less resistant, more engaged. They made plans to meet for lunch, for coffee, always when they knew I'd be busy. Then I found it. The message that shattered my world completely. "Vanessa, I love you, Mark. I know it's wrong, I know she's my sister, but I can't help how I feel. You deserve someone who appreciates you. Someone like me. Mark, I love you too. This is killing me, but I can't imagine my life without you in it anymore. We need to figure out how to tell Sarah." The iPad slipped from my hands onto the desk. The room spun. I couldn't breathe. They were in love. My sister and my husband were in love. And they were planning to tell me, which meant they were planning to destroy my family, my marriage, my entire life. How long had this been going on? How could I have been so blind? I sat there in that office for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes. Then something inside me shifted. The shock gave way to something else. Something cold and calculating. I wasn't going to fall apart. I wasn't going to confront them and give them the satisfaction of seeing me broken. No, I was going to be smart about this. I was going to gather evidence, and I was going to protect myself and my children. But most importantly, I was going to make sure they both faced the consequences of their betrayal. I took screenshots of everything. Every message, every photo, every declaration of love and plans for the future. I sent them all to my email, then deleted the sent messages from the iPad. I carefully placed it back exactly where I'd found it. Then I went downstairs, made myself a cup of tea with trembling hands, and started planning. If they thought they could destroy my life without consequences, they were about to learn a very painful lesson about karma. The hardest thing I've ever done was pretending everything was normal. Walking into my house every day, smiling at my husband, having dinner with my sister, tucking my kids into bed, all while knowing the two people I trusted most in the world were betraying me. But I did it. For 3 weeks, I played the perfect wife, the loving sister, the happy homemaker. Meanwhile, I was documenting everything. I hired a private investigator, a woman named Janet who came highly recommended by Michelle's lawyer friend. Janet was in her 50s, professional, discreet, and most importantly, she got results. I need you to follow my husband and my sister, I told her at our first meeting at a coffee shop 2 towns over. I need photos, videos, everything. I need proof that will hold up in divorce court. Janet didn't bat an eye. Honey, I've seen it all. I'll get you what you need. And she did. Within a week, I had photos of Mark and Vanessa meeting at hotels, holding hands in parking lots, kissing in his car. The evidence was devastating and irrefutable. But I didn't confront them yet. I needed to make sure all my ducks were in a row. I met with a divorce attorney, a sharp woman named Patricia Chan who had a reputation for being ruthless in court. I showed her everything, the messages, the photos from Janet, all of it. You have a solid case for fault-based divorce, Patricia said, reviewing the files. Adultery is still grounds in Connecticut. With this evidence, you'll likely get primary custody of the children, and given his affair with your sister, which shows a pattern of deception in the home, any judge will look favorably on your position. Plus, Connecticut is an equitable distribution state, and with his adultery, you're looking at a favorable split of assets. What about her? I asked. My sister. Patricia leaned back in her chair. That's where it gets interesting. You could potentially sue her for alienation of affection, but Connecticut doesn't recognize that. However, the court of public opinion? That's a different story. I smiled for the first time in weeks. Tell me more. We spent the next hour strategizing. Patricia helped me secure our finances, making sure Mark couldn't drain any accounts or hide assets. I quietly moved half of our savings into an account in my name only. I documented every asset we owned, every investment, every penny. But I still didn't confront them. Because I wanted to know their plan. I wanted to see just how far they would go. That's when I installed a voice-activated recorder in the guest room. It was legal because it was my house. Patricia confirmed that. And what I heard on those recordings was worse than I imagined. Vanessa wasn't just stealing my husband. She was actively plotting to take my entire life. Once Sarah finds out, she'll be devastated. Vanessa's voice came through clearly on the recording. She'll probably want to leave, maybe go stay with her parents for a while. That's when we make our move. What do you mean? Mark asked. You file for divorce, claim irreconcilable differences, whatever. But here's the thing, you fight for custody of the kids. We say Sarah's been unstable, too focused on work, neglecting the family. I'll testify to it. I've been living here, I've seen everything. My hands clenched into fists listening to this. Mark was quiet for a moment. Then, you really think that would work? Baby, I've been documenting everything. Every time Sarah snapped at the kids because she was stressed, every time she chose a client meeting over a school event, every time she was too tired to make dinner. We paint a picture of a woman who's not capable of being the primary parent. And then we get married, and I become Emma and Jake's mother. We get this house, the life, everything. Sarah will be too broken to fight us. She'll probably just fade away. I had to turn off the recorder. I thought I might be sick. They weren't just having an affair. They were planning to take my children. Vanessa wanted to replace me completely, to step into my life like I never existed. That night, lying in bed next to Mark while he slept peacefully, I made my decision. I wasn't just going to divorce him. I wasn't just going to expose their affair. I was going to destroy them both. I chose Thanksgiving to make my move. It seemed poetic, somehow. A day about family and gratitude turned into a day of reckoning. I invited everyone. My parents, Mark's parents, our closest friends, about 20 people in total. Vanessa and Mark had no idea what was coming. They played their roles perfectly, Mark carving the turkey, Vanessa helping me in the kitchen while shooting me sympathetic looks behind everyone's backs. "You seem stressed, sis," she said while we were arranging appetizers. "Are you okay?" The audacity of this woman. Standing in my kitchen, pretending to care, while planning to steal my husband and children. "I'm perfect," I said with a smile. "Actually, I have an announcement to make during dinner. Something I want to share with everyone." I saw a flicker of panic in her eyes. "Oh, what kind of announcement?" "You'll see." Dinner was beautiful. I'd outdone myself, and everyone complimented the food, the decorations, the warmth of our family gathering. Mark sat at the head of the table, Vanessa to his right, me to his left, a perfect triangle of dysfunction. After the main course, I stood up and tapped my wine glass. The room fell silent. "I want to thank everyone for being here today," I began. "Family means everything to me. Loyalty, trust, love, these are the foundations of what makes a family strong. And today, I want to talk about what happens when those foundations crumble." Mark's face went pale. Vanessa's eyes darted to the door. "You see, I've recently discovered something that's shattered my world. Something that two people I loved and trusted have been hiding from me." I pulled out my phone. "I'm going to show you all something now. It's not pleasant, but I think everyone deserves to know the truth about the people sitting at this table." "Sarah, what are you doing?" Mark stood up, his voice shaking. "Sit down, Mark." My voice was steel. He sat. I connected my phone to our TV and pulled up the slideshow I'd prepared. Photos of Mark and Vanessa together, kissing, holding hands, entering hotels. Text messages blown up on the screen for everyone to read. The room erupted. My mother gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Mark's father stood up, his face purple with rage. Michelle started crying. Friends looked away in shock and disgust. "Sarah, I can explain," Vanessa started, but my mother cut her off. "Explain? Explain. You're trying to steal your sister's husband? Your niece and nephew's father?" My father, usually a calm man, looked at Vanessa with pure disgust. "Get out of this house. Now." "Mom, Dad, please," Vanessa tried, tears streaming down her face. But they were fake tears. I knew her tells. "Don't you dare," my mother said. "I don't even recognize you. What you've done is unforgivable." Mark tried to salvage the situation. "Everyone, please, this is between Sarah and me. We need to discuss this privately." I laughed, a cold, bitter sound. "Privately? The way you and my sister discussed it privately for months? The way you plotted to take my children from me? Oh yes, everyone, they weren't just having an affair. They were planning to take my kids, paint me as an unfit mother, and build their perfect little life on the ashes of mine. I played the audio recording. Vanessa's voice filled the room, detailing their plan to take everything from me. The silence that followed was deafening. Mark's mother was crying now. "How could you?" she said to her son. "How could you destroy your family like this? And you," she turned to Vanessa. "You're a monster. An absolute monster." Vanessa fled that night, grabbing what she could and leaving in tears. The last thing she said to me was, "You'll regret this, Sarah. You've destroyed everything." "No," I said calmly. "You did that the moment you decided my life was yours to take." Mark tried to stay, tried to talk to me, but I had his bags already packed. "My attorney will be in touch. You're not welcome in this house anymore. Any communication goes through lawyers." "Sarah, please, let me just explain. Explain what, Mark? Explain how you fell in love with my sister. Explain how you plan to take my children. Get out." My parents stayed that night, helping with the kids who were confused and upset by the commotion. Emma, smart 7-year-old that she was, knew something was very wrong. "Is Daddy coming back?" she asked me as I tucked her in. "Daddy made some bad choices, sweetheart," I said, brushing her hair back. "But no matter what happens, Mommy and Daddy both love you and Jake very, very much. That will never change." She hugged me tight. "I love you, Mommy." That's when I finally let myself cry. The next few days were chaos. Word spread fast in our community. It's amazing how quickly news travels in a small Connecticut suburb. My phone blew up with messages, some supportive, some asking for details, some offering help. Mark tried calling repeatedly. I blocked his number. Vanessa sent long text messages, alternating between apologies and accusations. I blocked her too. But then the karma started rolling in, faster and more brutal than I ever could have planned. First, Mark's firm called him in for a meeting. Apparently, his boss, a conservative family man who'd known Mark for years, had heard about the affair through his wife who was friends with someone at the Thanksgiving dinner. The firm had a morality clause in their contracts, and Mark's very public scandal was bad for their image. They didn't fire him, but they demoted him and cut his salary by 40%. No more prestigious projects, no more client meetings. He was essentially desk-bound, doing grunt work. Then Vanessa's karma hit. Remember that job interview she'd been going to? Turns out it was for a position at a prestigious advertising agency in Manhattan. She'd made it to the final round. But someone, I'm not sure who, maybe one of the guests at Thanksgiving who had connections, maybe just the internet doing its thing, made sure the hiring manager knew about her situation. They rescinded the offer. Said they were going in a different direction. But it got worse for her. Much worse. Vanessa had a decent following on social media. She'd been building her brand as an aspiring actress and lifestyle influencer. About 15,000 followers on Instagram. She'd post about self-love, sisterhood, women supporting women. The irony was rich. Someone, I truly don't know who, posted the full story on a viral Twitter thread, complete with screenshots of her texts to Mark. It was picked up by those drama Instagram accounts, then TikTok, then it spread everywhere. "Woman tries to steal sister's husband and kids," was trending for 3 days. Vanessa's social media was flooded with thousands of comments calling her every name in the book. Her followers dropped to less than 1,000. Brands that had sent her products for promotion demanded she remove their tags. She had to make all her accounts private, then eventually deleted them entirely. She couldn't get work anywhere. The bartending job she'd had in New York? They'd heard about it and told her not to come back. Acting auditions? Her name was mud in the community. No one wanted to be associated with her. My parents cut her off completely. They refused to see her, talk to her, help her financially. Our extended family did the same. At Christmas, which was just a month after Thanksgiving, she wasn't invited to any family gathering. She was effectively erased from the family. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she'd moved back to New York, living in a tiny studio in a rough neighborhood, working odd jobs just to make rent. And Mark. His life was falling apart too. The divorce proceedings were brutal, but Patricia was worth every penny I paid her. Mark tried to fight for joint custody initially, but once Patricia presented all the evidence, the recordings of him and Vanessa planning to paint me as an unfit mother, his attorney advised him to back down. The judge was a woman in her 60s who'd seen it all. When she listened to those recordings, her face hardened. "Mr. Mitchell," she said, peering over her glasses. "Not only did you engage in an affair with your wife's sister in the family home, but you plotted to manipulate custody proceedings for your own gain. This court takes a very dim view of such behavior. I got primary custody of Emma and Jake. Mark got supervised visitation every other weekend. He tried to argue for more, but the judge shut him down. You made choices that prioritized your selfish desires over your children's well-being. You'll be fortunate to have what I'm granting you." As for assets, Connecticut's equitable distribution meant everything was split, but given the circumstances, I got the house, 60% of our shared assets, and substantial child support and alimony. Mark's attorney looked defeated. Mark himself looked broken. But I felt no sympathy. He'd been ready to destroy me, to take my children, to build his happiness on my devastation. The day the divorce was finalized, I sat in my car outside the courthouse and called Michelle. "It's done," I said. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Free," I realized. And I meant it. But the karma wasn't finished yet. There was one more twist in this story that I never saw coming. About 2 months after the divorce was final, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Sarah. It's Vanessa." I was silent. What could she possibly want? "I know you have no reason to listen to me," she said, her voice raspy like she'd been crying. "But I need to tell you something. About Mark. Something you need to know." Despite everything, curiosity got the better of me. "What?" "He's been seeing someone else. Another woman. He started dating her like 2 weeks after your divorce was final. I found out because he texted me by accident, meant to send it to her." I almost laughed. "Why are you telling me this, Vanessa? You destroyed my marriage. Why do you care who he's dating now?" There was a long pause. Then, "Because he did the same thing to me that he did to you. He was seeing her while he was still with me. He used me to get away from you, and then he dropped me the second it was convenient." Karma, I thought. Sweet, poetic karma. "He told me he loved me," Vanessa continued, and now she was crying. "He said we'd build a life together. But the second things got hard, the second there were consequences, he bailed. He won't return my calls. He blocked me. And I'm alone, Sarah. I have nothing. No family, no job, no friends. I destroyed everything for a man who was just using me. I should have felt vindicated. I should have felt victorious. But instead, I just felt tired." "I'm not the person you need to talk to about this, Vanessa," I said quietly. "I can't give you absolution. I can't make you feel better about your choices. You made your bed." "I know," she whispered. "I know. I wanted you to know that I'm sorry. For what it's worth, I'm so sorry." I hung up. Later that night, I told Michelle about the call. "Do you believe her? That she's sorry?" I thought about it. I think she's sorry she got caught. Sorry she faced consequences. Sorry her plan didn't work. But I don't think she's sorry for what she actually did. Not really. "Are you going to tell her parents? Let them know she reached out?" I shook my head. "No. That's her bridge to rebuild. I'm done carrying other people's burdens." It's been a year now since that Thanksgiving. A year since my world exploded and I had to rebuild it from scratch. My life looks different now. Emma and Jake are thriving. Kids are resilient in ways that amaze me. They've adjusted to the new normal. 2 homes, different routines. They see Mark every other weekend, And while he tries to be a good dad during those visits, the relationship is strained. Emma especially has a hard time forgiving him. "Why did Daddy leave us?" she asked me once. "Daddy made some bad choices," I told her honestly. "Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes, even big ones. But it doesn't mean he doesn't love you." My business is booming. Turns out, there's no better motivation than having to rebuild your life from the ground up. I've hired 2 assistants and I'm busier than ever. The income has been good, really good, and I've been able to set up college funds for both kids with the proceeds. I even started dating someone. His name is David, he's a high school teacher, divorced with a daughter of his own. It's early days, but he's kind, genuine, and most importantly, transparent. After everything I've been through, honesty is the sexiest quality a person can have. But here's where the final piece of karma comes in, the one that made me realize the universe really does have a sense of justice. Last month, Mark got engaged. To that woman Vanessa mentioned, the one he started dating right after our divorce. Her name is Brittany, she's 26, works as a dental hygienist. I found out because Emma told me. "Daddy's getting married again," she said matter-of-factly during dinner. "To Brittany. She's nice but she's not you, Mommy." I'll admit, it stung for a moment. Not because I wanted Mark back, God no, but because it was a reminder of how quickly he'd moved on, how little our marriage must have meant to him. But then, 2 weeks ago, I got another call. This time from Mark's mother, Helen, who'd been nothing but supportive to me throughout everything. "Sarah dear, I thought you should know something," she said. "Mark's engagement is off. Brittany left him." Oh. I tried to sound neutral. "What happened?" Helen sighed. She found texts on his phone. He'd been messaging other women on dating apps while they were together. Same pattern, different girl. She called off the wedding and moved out. I sat down, processing this. "He hasn't changed at all, has he?" "No," Helen said sadly. "He hasn't. And I think he's finally realizing that the problem isn't the women in his life. It's him. He destroyed a beautiful family, lost an amazing wife, damaged his relationships with his children. And for what? He's alone now, truly alone, and it's entirely his own doing." After we hung up, I sat on my porch with a cup of tea, watching Emma and Jake play in the backyard. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Mark had lost everything. His family, his reputation, his career trajectory, his relationships. He'd become exactly what he deserved to be, a cautionary tale. And Vanessa. I'd heard through the grapevine that she'd moved to Los Angeles, trying to start fresh where no one knew her story. But the internet never forgets. Her name was still the first result when you Googled, "Sister steals husband." That would follow her forever. As for me, I'm happy. Genuinely, authentically happy in a way I wasn't even before everything fell apart. Because now I know my worth. I know I'm strong enough to handle whatever life throws at me. I know that betrayal doesn't define me, how I rise from it does. My story isn't about revenge, though there was certainly some of that. It's about karma, yes, but more than that, it's about understanding that people who try to build their happiness on someone else's pain will always end up destroying themselves in the process. Vanessa thought she could steal my life, that she could just step into my shoes and everything would be perfect. But you can't build something real on a foundation of lies and betrayal. It'll always crumble eventually. Mark thought he could trade in his family for a newer model without consequences. But actions have reactions, and the universe has a way of settling debts. The best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living well. It's rebuilding. It's showing them that they didn't break you, they just freed you from people who never deserved you in the first place. Sometimes I think about reaching out to Vanessa, maybe trying to repair our relationship. But then I remember that recording, her voice coldly plotting to take my children. And I know that some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. Some people show you exactly who they are, and it's your responsibility to believe them. My parents sometimes express sadness about losing their younger daughter to this situation. "She's still your sister," my mom said once. No, I corrected gently. She stopped being my sister the moment she decided my husband and my children were worth more to her than I was. A sister doesn't destroy her sister's life. That's not family. That's a stranger wearing a familiar face. So here I am, a year later. Stronger, wiser, happier. My kids are healthy and loved. My business is thriving. I have friends who proved their loyalty when it mattered. I have a new relationship that's built on honesty and respect. And I have peace, the kind of peace that comes from knowing you handled a nightmare situation with grace and intelligence. Mark and Vanessa will have to live with their choices forever. That's their karma. But me. I get to live with mine too, and mine led to freedom, growth, and a beautiful new chapter. If there's anything I want people to take away from my story, it's this. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them. When they betray you, don't waste energy trying to figure out why you weren't enough. You were always enough. They were the ones lacking character, integrity, and basic human decency. And karma. Karma doesn't need your help. Just step back and let the universe do its work. It always does. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps someone out there who's going through something similar. You're stronger than you know. You'll survive this. And one day, you'll thrive again. I promise.